Welcome aboard, everyone, to the Airliners International Fan Podcast. This is episode 2. I'm your host, JJ Skippy, joined today by my co-host, Connor, or Red River Aviation. Please say hello.
Hello.
We are also joined by 2 special guests for this episode. Returning from our previous episode is Anderson, Syracuse Aviation Online. Please say hello.
Hello.
And we do have a new special guest for this episode. We have Gavin, ROC Aviation. Please say hello.
Hello, everyone.
All right. So now that we've introduced ourselves, let's go ahead and talk about what we're going to be going over for episode 2 of this fan podcast, the Kansas City Reflection. So this podcast is just going to be us talking about what we all did together in Kansas City, our favorite memories, our favorite moments, favorite references. You know the drill. And then after we go over what we liked about Kansas City, we'll go into a little preview on Atlanta. We'll talk a little bit about what Airliners 2025 is going to provide based on the information that we have right now. And then we'll wrap things up right after that. So we should have a similarly length episode, just like the previous one. Plenty of material to talk about. And folks, please feel free to talk as long as you need to as well. We want to make sure we get as many references as possible into this episode. Okay, so let's go ahead and reflect on Kansas City, Airliners International 2024. In my opinion, it was the best airliners that I've attended so far, and I'm sure all of you would probably agree on that as well. But yeah, let's go ahead and hop into the first item on the agenda, our best memories from Airliners International. And I'll go ahead and start with Connor for this episode.
Yeah, it was really great. There was so much going on for sure. So obviously, all the friendships that we had developed over time definitely contributed to where these memories come from. And it's so cool. So this one backtracks a little bit to before the show, but obviously due to Airlines International having the opportunity to hang out with Anderson before the show and then JJ after the show was really cool. So that was definitely a huge highlight for me, and I really enjoyed that. So that was a bunch of fun for sure. And I'm actually going to supplement here with my camera roll to make sure that I don't forget any really great moments because admittingly there was a bunch going on. So obviously Wednesday in the morning to afternoon hours, social hour in the ballroom was great. Chris always doing story time with us. So that was a really great time, and hearing him do what he does best is definitely a blast as always. So that was awesome. And also learning about the location for Atlanta, that was quite a climax right there as well. So that was a bunch of fun. Then obviously the Elton 11 tour that the majority of us did was really great, and there were so many cool components to that. So that was definitely a great memory with a bunch of goofy pictures and just having a great time. So that was a bunch of fun. And then obviously going into Thursday with the anticipation, as we talked about in that first episode of the ballroom opening, I think that was definitely a huge climax right there, and definitely the amount of anticipation. That was a large line of people, and I don't know if it lapped around to the other side perpendicular there to where we have pictures of it, but there was definitely over 100 people there, possibly closer to 150, 200. So that was really cool. And then definitely the contents of the ballroom as well. So many cool various aviation items. We got all the model aircraft that we expected, but definitely the big trio for the model aircraft of tarmac designs, custom airport bases, and jet set models was just really cool to see that all put in place, and that will definitely be enhanced for 2025. So looking very forward to that. And then obviously the welcome reception I thought was definitely a really big highlight. But first I want to talk about Todd Michael seminar that was conducted Thursday. That was a really great time. Definitely a great opportunity to learn so much about Gemini jets and the model aircraft landscape that we haven't known before. So really enjoyed that, and definitely excited to go into a more in-depth analysis. Moving into the welcome reception, that was a great time learning about aviation history. Another very underrated big key highlight and moments I should say, was all the slide presentations that we had. So obviously this one with John Jamieson's presentation on the MCI airport history was an absolute blast to learn about, along with Chris Slimmer doing what he does best, showing us some 16 millimeter film of obviously the air. I believe there was a New Zealand portion. There was also emergency equipment for a Convair 880 and the 747 presentation. All that was really cool. So thoroughly enjoyed that, and that was great, along with the Friday night slide sessions. There was 3 of those. So really great to get in on all of that, and along with all the hangout time, doing model airports, of course. I know I'm doing just just a little bit of a brief summary, but I think it kind of ties into what we're talking about. So it is pretty relevant. And again, key moments for sure, along with just attending all the seminars this year. It was really great to add that as a new component. That's really the last piece of the puzzle that, as of for the majority of us, we haven't done before. So really great to see what these seminars provide, and definitely a wide array of knowledge and memories to be took away from that. So excited to expand on that in Atlanta, of course. Then Jet Midwest was great, getting to interact with Noel Phillips. We talked about that in the first episode being a goal, and we definitely achieved that. So very happy about that. In learning the repurposed of some of these aircraft at Jet Midwest, I also thought was really cool. And for me personally, also expanding into new content forms like interviews. So I got to do one on Todd Michaels and also with Donnie from DG Pilot. So stoked to expand on that in the future, and definitely is going to add a really awesome component to what's to come for the future. And obviously plenty of particular references through all this too, just going over a general summary. As I said, TWA Museum was very cool as well. Plenty of fun moments from that. And then Saturday, obviously, very sentimental. So many action-packed moments in the ballroom, but obviously get into the banquet dinner as well. It was really cool to have more people there that I knew than last year. So that was really cool. And again, really fun show. There was so many pieces to the puzzle here and so many great moments to take away, and we'll evaluate those with content to come. But overall, it was a great time, and I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Great way to summarize it from your perspective. And to clarify on the ballroom, I think that line on Thursday before they opened it up, I think it just made it to the end of the hallway. So right by where the term is slipping my mind right now. The registration desk. There we go. I think the line reached the registration desk. It didn't wrap around the corner, at least from what I recall. There's a really good video. Jazz Cup Joey did a video, and there's a brief clip where he's at the end of the line. I think that's where it was, in regards to how far the line extended before they opened the ballroom on Thursday. Okay, so I'll hand it off to Anderson now. What was your best memories from Airliners in Kansas City?
I'm gonna go in order from whatever happened first. So, what I enjoyed, what happened first was when we were finishing up lunch and kind of waiting for everyone to show up on that first day, and we were just leaving, and JJ comes around the corner. That was a surprise. I was anticipating I'd see him around then, and we were just leaving lunch, and there he was, and that was just a really fun moment, seeing JJ again there. Then there was the TriStar experience. That was a lot of fun. That was unlike anything I've experienced before. That was super cool. Just all of us enthusiasts being together to be able to experience some amazing history like that. That was really awesome. That's something I'd take the opportunity to do again in the future if I could, or anything like it. That was super cool. And then the plane spotting meetup, which was very interesting to say the least. That was still that was a lot of fun, even at the end when we all met up in the hotel parking lot to finish off the pizza and everything. That was pretty fun, and definitely something I won't ever be forgetting anytime soon. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you definitely enjoyed it, despite the fact that you weren't there for very long. I know Thursday that was kind of. I know inside you were wishing to stay for a bit longer. Was that correct?
Absolutely. Of course.
Yeah, that's. Well, good news is I think for next year we won't have those conflicts on your end, so we'll be sure to yeah. And for those that may not be aware of the context, so Anderson here, he just graduated high school this past spring, so congratulations, Anderson, on that.
Hooray! Thank you.
Yeah, very proud of your accomplishments and what you've got coming up for college here this fall as you begin the next chapter of your life. But basically, how is school scheduled everything? His graduation ceremony was supposed to be on the Saturday of Airliners. And if I remember correctly, too, Anderson, you said that they moved it back a week, just like how they moved Airliners back a week, too. I think you told me that last fall.
Yeah. Yep. That's exactly right.
Yep. So that was a little unfortunate. But not only that, they had the practice session on the Friday before Airliners. So that meant Anderson had to leave on Thursday afternoon so that he could get home in time for that. So that meant his time.
What sucks about that, too, is they said it was mandatory or you wouldn't get your diploma, but some students didn't show up anyways, and they still got their diplomas, so I missed a whole day.
Oh, wow. I didn't hear about that.
Yep.
Crazy.
Wow.
Yep.
That's
it's not applicable.
I think, yeah, not very applicable. Your high school should have enforced that a lot better. And, yep. Well, the good news is we'll have plenty more opportunities in the future to meet up. We are definitely assessing some possible options, and I'll talk a little bit more about that here after I get to Gavin on his favorite memories from Airliners International. So, Gavin, you have the floor.
Oh boy, where do I begin? Okay, so, you know, a lot of hype coming up, before the show. Um, just really good vibes and stuff. Getting there, I faced a bit of a delay, so I wasn't able to be there during the opening, but I was there only about half an hour after said opening.
Yep.
Yeah, just great seeing everyone again, new and returning faces. Um, yeah, it was just great vibes all weekend. Had so much fun, especially day one, seeing everyone, Connor, JJ Anderson, so many other guys. Um, you know, seeing everything in the both of the ballrooms, and yeah, it was really fun. Going around and picking out some new models and memorabilia, and then also a highlight of that day, of day one, I should say, was the Gemini Jet seminar put on by Todd. That was extremely fun. And then following that, the opening, um, the welcome reception. That was quite fun. And then we had the MCI history presentation, um, which was a lot of fun. Learning about those, little local service airlines from the Midwest and just general history about the airport. And then day two, a lot of ballroom fun, and then um, the competition room. We checked that out. That was quite cool to see all those
The
displays. And
contests.
then yes, yes, that was pretty cool to see what some of those people put together for that. That was really impressive. And then, of course, one of the main highlights of the show was the Friday night barbecue at the TWA museum. Despite some hiccups, transportation wise, we had a great time there and made a lot of new memories there. And then following that, another presentation on, actually, excuse me, two presentations that night, pretty late at night, actually, about 10 p.m. local time, which was pretty surprising that they were doing stuff that late, but nonetheless, it was very fun. Those presentations were on 747s and hybrid liveries, which was pretty interesting selection.
Funny
And then
reference in
moving
the
on.
back, by the way.
Oh, yeah, yep.
There was
That's
also, I
amazing.
also want to mention there was a third presentation. I don't know if you had to miss it or what happened, Gavin, but it was on DC-10s in honor of a slide member that passed away a few years ago. So definitely
Oh,
wanted
right,
to
yes,
honor
DC
that one as
10s.
well. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, that was.
yes, I forgot to mention that one. Yes, I think we were all there for that. And then um, day three, just having as much fun as we can in the final hours of the show, and yeah, just continuing to, make new memories and stuff. Um, going around and looking at what the show had to offer was really, really cool. And then unfortunately, I had to leave at about midday for my flight home, which did not end very well as I faced a very long delay and ended up missing my connecting flight. So I had to spend the night in Detroit, which wasn't very fun, but we did make it home the next day. So yeah, and just in general, um, a amazing opportunity to come to Kansas City. Um, it's pretty hard to choose between Kansas City and Dallas, considering Dallas was my first show. That was extremely fun, but
Yep.
Kansas City was definitely how do you say it? Very very fun. let's just put it at that. It was extremely good time, and wouldn't trade it for anything, to be completely honest.
Yeah, it's hard to sort of pick between those two because Dallas, that was in a big city, and then Kansas City, you're in a smaller city, but there's still a lot of good tours and other opportunities within the area for the av geek, the aviation enthusiast, and whatnot. So now for my best memories, and as Gavin alluded to, it's kind of hard to pick just one. So you kind of have to go over everything. But referencing what Anderson said earlier, one of my favorites personally was seeing Anderson right on the first day of the show on Wednesday. So getting there to Kansas City and meeting up with him, Connor, and also Dom. They were hanging out together in that little restaurant. So I got to the hotel after I left from Sioux Falls at 6. So I got to the hotel. I think it was like 12:30 or something. I'm not sure. What time did your watch say, Connor, if you recall, when I arrived?
Oh, it had to be around 12. I mean, I can get a picture, but it was around that 12 p.m. hour.
Yeah, so somewhere around noon is when I got there. So I go through the process, get checked in. I saw some people walking into the hotel as well. And get checked in, get the room ready, drop off stuff, and then just start exploring the hotel a little bit, figure out where everything is at. And then that's when I go searching for you guys. And that's when I found Connor, Anderson, and Dom, and then his mom in a little group huddled away in one of the restaurants. And Anderson, running up to me, giving me a hug. I was kind of surprised by that, but that's kind of what told me in the moment that our friendship, I think, now is inseparable, because I know he was just waiting for me to show up, because I think that's what you said earlier too, Anderson. You're just waiting for me to show up, and you're expecting me somewhere in another part of the hotel, but ended up finding you guys instead. So a little bit of a role reversal in that department, but it was a great moment for the both of us. And then obviously Anderson getting his graduation card, that was another great memory between the both of us. So I hope you will enjoy that card. I know you told me prior to your departure, you would either frame it or keep it somewhere in your dorm room as a nice keepsake. So I do, hope you appreciate that, and appreciate you hanging on to that. That is, it's a nice memento. It's kind of my token of appreciation of our friendship, if you will. It's it goes a long way with that kind of stuff. I thought of doing something nice right in the moment. And I still remember the day too when I got that. I went over to the Lewis drugstore here in town one night. It was like a little over a month after I got out of college, because I just thought of it right then and there. I figured if I was going to think of it, I wanted to do it, so I got that taken care of, and that was the easiest decision I could make right there, and I'm really glad that I did that. So,
love that.
Kindness, it costs 0 cents to be kind in this world.
It goes a long way.
Yep. Even though in this case I did give him 20, but we'll sort of ignore that for now. But it's still pretty easy to be kind.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so now I have a little bit of a side prompt that I have. Favorite reference, because obviously we all like to make references, use references, so on. Our favorite references, I'll start off with Connor on this. What was your favorite reference out of it?
You probably know what it is. I want to see if you know what it is.
I have like 2 or 3 possibilities in mind. We got Chris Slimmer with his "You Don't Know My History." That
one's really good.
Up there.
Unfortunately, I have to take the one that immediately came to my head, and that's going to have to be my favorite. There's about 100 I could pick, but it was the first one that came to my head, so it's going to have to be it. So whenever you say it, I'll let you know.
We did have the story time right after we finished up the spotting meetup.
That was very good. I
remember that, and yep. And then Chris, he was telling that story. I'm trying to think of where that was. The one where the plane wouldn't start, and he was going.
Yes, that was the Isla Grande story. That's correct. Which he has visited since then, so we love that.
Yes. Yep. So that was the Isla Grande story. Got that taken care of, and then of course we did the airport update after that as well, to make that reference, and then Somerville to make many more.
Right.
Okay, so was the was that your favorite?
It was not
reference.
No, it was
Really?
not. No, it's not what first
Okay.
came to my head. So I got to pick what first came to my head.
Okay, so
I do.
we're
I,
going.
I I really like doing this reference. Another person's
Um,
involved is your hint.
is there customers involved with this one?
No. All right, fine. It's the dang it reference when he got upset with
Dang
this
it! There we go.
with this 16
Okay, yeah.
millimeter film. I'm saying a different word to
Yes.
substitute because he used a different word than that. But when we were
Yeah.
watching 16 millimeter film on Friday, I think I had Mark on my right and JJ on my left. But here comes Chris, and the film is trying to roll off of the projectors. So Chris is over here pretty much
yes.
stabbing the projector, trying to get it fixed. And as he's doing that, you can literally see the film, like the bottom portions just starting to come off. And then he like stabbed it really good once, not stabbed, but pushed it really good once, then twice. And then the most short like I don't even know like how to describe it correctly, but he said the D word, but he was like, dang it, like literally as fast as possible. And then I had started dying, and then Mark did it right in front of my face to the right just to make a reference out of it, and then that's been it. Now, I still love, Roo, and all of them. They're all super good, and I use them all the time, especially because you don't know my history. But that was the first one that came to my mind, so I think it's fair to say that's probably my favorite if that was what I thought of first. So, dang it.
Yes. Now I'll extend it over to Anderson. Obviously, your time was a bit short, so you didn't get to see absolutely everything, but I'm sure maybe one of the ones that I listed earlier, maybe that was your favorite. So what was your favorite out of the time that you were with us?
The one that I wish I could have experienced was the one you were just discussing. The
Oh
Dang It
my
reference
gosh,
that-
dude. It was incredible.
That was
But-
extremely funny.
But the one that comes to mind before that one was you guys don't know my history.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah.
That was a classic. Well, that was the first video that we got of him because it was just like, all right,
Yeah.
Chris, if you're going to keep rambling,
Tell
we're
me-
going to film you. So
Tell
he's,
me about those. Tell me
gosh.
about those little trips you do flying around.
Yeah, these little trips where I fly around
That's-
just for fun. That's one of my favorites too. I
Yeah.
love repeating that as
Yeah.
well.
Oh
That's-
no, another one. Chris goes, what do you guys call yourself? Avnuts?
Yeah, nuts.
Have-nuts.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, that
Have
was
nuts?
funny.
Oh my gosh.
That's yep. But he knows that whenever there's a camera on him, he's got to do something.
The highlight reel is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
I got minutes worth of material, dozens of minutes.
Yes, and that'll be very fun, and I'll be sure to. Oh yeah, Connor, I should send over my full story time clip. Well, no, you actually got your own clip, so disregard my previous statement. I actually sent that over to someone else who needed it.
Oh yes.
But I was thinking of that guy. Okay, so now I'll hand it off to Gavin. Your favorite reference out of Airliners?
To be completely honest, I think it's not necessarily a reference, but I just liked when JJ or you know what, the guy in the back during that
yeah, that's a
presentation,
reference. That is
he just
100% a
started-
reference.
Just started wheezing.
Yeah.
The guy just started wheezing. in the
Thank
back,
gosh I
and
was
JJ
recording. That
just-
paid off.
Yes.
that was so funny.
But
And
it's funny
JJ
because there was
just
one
broke
wheeze
down
before that
laughing.
was just above and beyond. So unfortunately we missed that one, but the one that I got on camera was just as good. So gosh.
Maybe-
Yeah, that was so funny.
I don't know if I was recording before that wheeze. Maybe I was. I'm gonna have to look back. I need to
Man.
look back through that footage.
God, it was so
Because
good.
I've yet to edit. Because I'm gonna do that slideshow is a different video, the one on Friday night
Yes.
from the barbecue video. So I need to do that. But I'll go through that, and maybe I got the wheeze on there by chance. I am pretty confident that I may have, but I'm sure I got a couple good.
We
ones
got
on
one of
there.
the wheezes. That's for darn sure.
Yeah, the one of the better ones. That was a really, really darn good one. I don't even know what was said because they were sitting in the back and talking.
They were being loud though. They were being. You could hear it.
Yeah.
Like there was chuckling back there, and then that happened.
Yep. But I mean, hey, I'm sure they're good friends amongst
You
themselves.
think?
And that's what they do. Yeah. they must make their own fair share of references and whatnot. All right, so now for my favorite reference. Of course, it's hard to pick just one, so I may have to go over a few. I'm going to try and dig through my memory here. Good reference in particular. There was one when he was talking about that one airport in Israel that's slipping my mind right now. What was the name of that airport? Connor?
It started with a C. Let me think of it.
Or
Let me think of it here for a moment. Cyprus. It was Cyprus. That was it.
Oh, it was Cyprus. Okay.
Cyprus.
I was thinking. Okay. But yeah, it was this one airport in Cyprus where he went to this one terminal. He goes through security, and someone comes from security and checks his ticket and is like, "Oh, you're at the wrong terminal. You need to be at the other terminal." And then Chris is like, "Oh, flip! I'm replacing what he actually said with a more a different word." So, but the reference is on YouTube somewhere. It's in my convention experience video. That one is also in there. I think it's like right before the oh flip comment that he made, but that was one of my favorites because I got the whole crowd laughing. Another one from Chris. This one was on Thursday, right before the ballroom opened, when everybody was in the big line. Connor, he was exclaiming, huge shout out to Chris Slimmer, Bill Demarest, the World Airline Historical Society, everybody putting the show together, and then everyone erupts into applause. And then Chris comes out of the ballroom and he's like, "What are we celebrating?" And then Connor says, "We're celebrating you." And Chris, he kind of had the look of huh? He seemed a little bamboozled right in the moment, and I can't blame him. I think the large crowd, that may have overwhelmed him a little bit, but I'm sure he did appreciate that right in the moment. And then right after, it was Dom's mom that was asking, "Where's Bill when you need him?" And then Chris is like, he sees Bill down on the other side of the hall, and he's like, come here, Bill. And then eventually he says, "Get your A double over here." And then the whole crowd just erupts into laughter. I remember LAS in my shot when I was filming that, he erupted into laughter there. So that definitely got a reaction out of the whole crowd right when that happened. But right after we did the whole song and dance with that, they opened up the ballroom. We were all in there having fun. Let me see if other references that we have. I think Shiv made a couple good references.
Oh my gosh!
If you're watching this, Shiv, yes, you have made your fair share of references.
He will be pulled off to the side for discussion at Atlanta.
Yes, we will. We'll talk about that later. We'll hit that up at another time. But it's a very good reference. Go check out the plane spotting meetup video on my channel if you want to see more on that. But okay, any other references that I can think of right in the moment? I don't think nothing else is really coming to my mind, but I'm sure they'll come up later, and I'll bring them up in between sessions or between prompts that we have here. But for now, we're going to go ahead and continue and move on to my next prompt. Your best purchase from the convention, because there's a lot of stuff on offer. A lot of us got great items, and I think we could definitely fill up a lot of time with this particular question. So I'll go ahead and start off with Connor again on this question.
It's a tie between the 5 400s that I got for $20. That's going to be the Hawaiian 787, Air Canada Jets A320, and British Airways A321neo, Delta A220-100, and the Everett's MD-80. Those were phenomenal values for brand new releases, and definitely very thrilled to get all those. None of them were on my immediate list, but obviously the situation presented itself, so obviously I had to take advantage. So very happy with those, and plenty of other good ones, but definitely value-wise and surprised-wise, and all of it put together, I think that those are definitely my best purchases. I'd probably pick the Hawaiian to be my favorite out of those.
Yeah, that Hawaiian looked really good.
Gosh,
I should have gotten
so
that myself at the show.
Strikeout.
But we do have a prompt for that a little later.
We make references around here.
Yes. No. Okay, Anderson, your favorite or your best purchase from the convention?
My favorite purchase was one that was on my list going into the show. It's a plane that I not necessarily have like relations to it, but it's one that I've always kind of liked, or more in recent memory, just being shared a bunch of reels of it, which is the Edelweiss A340-300.
Okay. Nice.
And then seeing it in person before the show just made me even more, and so I kind of the guess. As soon as I got into the ballroom, the first probably 25 or 30 minutes walking around is the only thing I was looking for, and I finally found it at the ballroom with all the models, whatever that was called, and I bought it. I still have it, and I absolutely love it. So it's definitely my favorite purchase.
Yeah, that Edelweiss looked really nice. So I know I know. I think most of us in here have spotted at least one of them. I haven't seen Edelweiss before. I know Connor, you've seen them. I think. Did you see one too, Anderson? At some point, I'm feeling. I feel like you did.
I wish I did.
Okay, okay. So you haven't. So I think Connor's the only one in here. Maybe Gavin has seen it once before, but he can confirm for me on whether or not that was the case. But yeah, I know for sure Connor's seen them in. I think it was Vancouver. I think you spotted one, and
Vancouver, Zurich.
Yeah,
Let's
Zurich.
see. What was the other? Las Vegas, Denver. That's a wide array of places. Calgary.
Okay, so you're doing pretty darn good on the
Yes.
Edelweiss spotting. So
yes,
I
absolutely.
need to step my game up.
And for anybody that doesn't know,
Edelweiss.
they do have Airbus A320s as well.
Yep. So Zurich is the place to be for some of that.
That would be it.
Yep. Okay, move on to Gavin now. Your best purchase from Kansas City.
Oh boy, what a question. Well, I'm going to have to go with the Aero Classics JetBlue Airbus A320 in the New York Jets livery, the old New York Jets livery with the stripes tail. I found that in the scratch and dent box at Ruth Brothers for $4, but the thing about it is, even though it was in the scratch and dent box, I looked over it thoroughly, and there is no damage at all on the model, which is extremely nice and a great deal as well. So really happy to have that one. Now, despite me being a Bills fan, the Jets being division rivals, I still like that. I still like the livery a lot, as much as I dislike the Jets as a team. It's a cool plane. So yeah, that was probably my favorite one.
Yeah, that one looked really nice. When I saw you purchase it, I think you got that. What day of the show did you get that? I'm trying to think.
I think day 2.
Day 2. Okay, so Friday at some point during the day's activities. And now for my best purchase. One comes to mind right away, and only one. That would be the Western 737-200 with the Indian head livery by Seattle Model Aircraft.
Oh boy.
$50 from Squatchy's Diecast Hangar. By the way, they've got great selection on their online store, so I just want to mention that real quick. Not sponsored by them, by the way, but they are a highly praised store within the community.
Yes.
So just wanted to put that out there real quick. So I remember.
Go ahead.
No, you're good. I still remember going through that table for the first time. The first thing I saw, by the way, was the silver ATR by Gemini Jets. That was another good purchase of mine. $50 for that one as well. And then you showed me the AirTran 717 with that special livery. The name's not coming to me right now.
Elton John.
The Elton John. There we go. The Elton John 717. That one was $55. And then I head over to their Aero Classics selection. I thought I saw a Frontier 737, but it ended up being a United Sol Bass, so I about had a heart attack when I saw that. And then I peek over. Yeah, I peek over a couple more rows, and then that's when I see the Western titles, and I'm like, "Holy!"
You were freaking out, dude. I was standing right there next to you, and you were.
You can watch the video. I mean, he about fainted right there.
Watch the video, everyone. It explains itself. Like seriously,
yes.
I was excited for him, dude.
Of course,
been talking about that for months,
years, dude.
Albeit maybe years, yeah. Great asset for retro FSD series as well.
Yep. And it's at about the I'm trying to look here. It's just at about the 23-minute mark on the day one vlog on my channel. So that's where that moment is. Really glad I got that on video, but unfortunately, had an issue with my computer recently. I lost the original file for that now, so that sucks. But at least I do have it on there, so I'll just snap it off of my video if I need to reuse that, which I'm probably going to have to. It's going to go in that best moments video that I still have planned. But yeah, that was my best purchase for sure. And then perhaps honorable mentions would include the Delta L1011. That was also from Squatchies for $65 by NG. It has the bicentennial sticker on it. And then one other good purchase. I'll throw in one more just for the heck of it. Let me see. The other good purchase was the annual report, that North Central annual report. Again, Gavin, thank you for helping me out with that.
Yes,
That
absolutely.
yep.
I was very glad to cover that. It definitely, you definitely wanted that. So
Yeah,
I was I'm more than happy to help you out.
yeah, that's much appreciated, and let me know if I owe you anything in return for
No,
that.
nothing at all. I'm happy to
Okay.
do that.
That's much appreciated. So that North Central annual report, that's from 1976. Still have yet to make a video on it, but I am starting to go through it. It does have a lot of good information in it. So yeah, that's another good purchase that was made on my behalf during the show. So now we move from the best purchase to something a little more unexpected. So what I mean here with this most unexpected purchase is perhaps something that you didn't really expect to get, whether it's because you think it was extremely rare and then it just so happened to be at the show, or maybe something that you didn't plan on getting but ended up really liking and you just jumped on the opportunity to get it as soon as you saw it. So I'll go and start with Connor on this one.
Yeah, mine's a little bit more towards the latter part of what you said, an item that you really enjoyed that you wouldn't have expected to, or the term that I immediately thought of was my most underrated. So it's going to be that custom airport diorama board, that painted one, runway one left at Kansas City. That guy is super cool, really enjoyed engaging with him, but I've been eyeing getting a board like that for model aircraft reviews and just to have a unique piece like that for several months now because he goes to several day shows. So I've seen those a handful of times now. So I'm really glad to finally score that. And it will be a great asset. While it was a little bit more expensive for an item like that, it'll be really cool for the model reviews, and it's just a great looking piece, and even better to find a perfect setup with it being Kansas City. And I was looking for a asphalt runway to contrast the majority of these Euro white planes really well, and luckily that one really matched up well. So really glad that I was able to get that. It's a very cool piece, and excited to expand upon those offerings in the future.
Yeah, those boards look really good. So I may have to pick up one. If you have the contact information
Yes,
for
I
that
do.
individual, I'm trying to think. Yes, feel free to send that my
Will
way,
do.
and I'll begin to look into his products and what else he has to offer, and perhaps he can make one of Sioux Falls too. That would be nice because
Absolutely.
I know
He
he
does
had a Des
customs.
Moines. Yeah, he did a Des Moines one,
That's it.
and I know a guy that bought one of them, so that was really cool. And now I'll move over to excuse me there. Move over to Anderson now. Most unexpected purchase from the convention.
Let's see. Definitely the Gemini 200 Breeze E195. An interesting story with this plane. Last 2 falls ago, actually. No, it was last fall, actually. Sorry. I got a Skymarks 1-100 Breeze E195 from Breeze Airways, which is really cool. And I remember JJ being on a call with me and suggesting that I get the Gemini 200 because I have the Gemini 1-400 and then the Skymarks. So the only one left to get to complete the trio would be the 1-200. And it was one that I definitely wanted for that reason. And then finally in Dallas that year, I saw one. I took it out of the box, picked it up, and really wanted it, and just ended up not getting it. And I wish I did. And then later on, last October in Atlanta, I think I might have seen it. And then at MTS, before I got to Kansas City this year, I almost got one there, and I decided not to. And finally in Kansas City, I'm like, you know what? This could very well be the last time I have the chance to get it, and it's one that I really want, so I might as well just get it. And that's what I did, and I'm very glad to have it. It's a very, very cool plane. They did a really good job, and that's definitely my, I guess you could say, as you said, most unexpected. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some of those those older Gemini releases over time, they're becoming harder to find. That one I think was an early 2022 release. I think that was the first time they
actually, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Really, it was 20.
That's
I think it may be printed 2021. I thought it was
that could be
early 2022 at some point. They just didn't have the 2022 copyright on there. Oh, that's wonderful. I got a notification for a recommendation of one of my own videos.
Nice.
That's something new from YouTube.
Love that.
Didn't realize they would recommend my own videos, but whatever. But yeah, the Breeze E195 200, that scale, that looks really nice. Glad you got the trio now of the 3 scales, and perhaps somebody wants to do a 1 to 300 scale, kind of
Yeah,
close
might
the
as
gap.
well, dude. At this point,
Yeah.
might as
Oh
well do that
yes.
too. And a
Yep.
1 to 500.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, go the whole way. And yeah, I mean, that's that's one way to put it. Okay. Mr. Gavin, now, your most unexpected purchase.
Oh boy. Pretty hard question. A lot of, I think one of the main premises of Airliners International is finding stuff that you don't really see anywhere else. So I think that's one of the main attractions of the show. So with that being said, it's pretty hard to choose what model I didn't expect to get, or excuse me, what item I didn't expect to get. But I will say probably the Gemini Jets 1 to 400 America West Express CRJ 900. That was pretty cool.
That's
I got that from Squatchies. Yeah, pretty good price on it. So I decided to pick it up. I really like the America West final livery with on their regional jets. They used teal paint on their wings, which was pretty cool. Yeah, just an overall really cool livery. So I decided to pick that up. So yeah, that was pretty unexpected buy. So yeah, that's my most unexpected purchase, I would say. That, and also, as Connor mentioned, the little runway piece. He picked up the Kansas City one. I picked up LaGuardia runway 22. It had some water in it, and the approach lights as well. So that was really cool to pick up. So yeah, that and also with that, pretty unexpected purchase, as I don't think that vendor was at Dallas, so that was pretty cool to see him.
No, I don't recall seeing. I don't.
No, he was
seeing.
not. I think he's only been at Chicago O'Hare's day shows.
Okay, so then
so
yeah,
he
so he
must-
definitely drove, or he's probably the type to drive to the nearest shows and wouldn't want to fly. So I can understand that. It is kind of expensive to fly stuff down.
He's going to the big shows now, so that's what matters.
That's good. That'll get him more business for sure, and will definitely help him out big time. Offset the cost of traveling there by plane, especially. All right, so for my most unexpected purchase, I'm going to go to one that didn't necessarily come from the convention itself, but the transaction occurred during the convention. That's going to be that Aero Classics North Central DC 930 that Connor found at the Chicago Collectible Show, and I'll let Connor explain this story since I know it very well.
Yeah, so I was just roaming around after selling some models at a table and was looking, and the Chicago Day Show is one of the best. I recommend that one. Atlanta, Dallas, Los Angeles. There's so many great day shows. But the best part about these, if you're a model aircraft collector, is that personal collections come up all the time, and most of these collectors are just ready to get rid of it. So the prices are just astronomically low. So there's 3 or 4 tables of just really, really good Aero Classics, Dragon Wings, and even some Gemini Jet stock here that I'm looking through. So I'm just looking. It's mainly retro airplanes, so I'm keeping my eyes peeled. So I'm looking, bunch of Aero Classics, again, Dragon Wings everywhere. And then finally, at the bottom of the stack, I find a North Central DC-9 and had a $30 sticker on it. So I was like, well, I know that who this needs to go to. So I saw $30. I was like, you know what, just to see what we can do. I was like, can I have it? Would you take $20? And then we meshed at $25. So I was like, this will be perfect. So carried it all the way with me to get it to JJ, got it to him. He's very happy with it, along with the other models that we traded for. So that went really well, and very glad that we were able to help his North Central fleet grow.
Yeah, that's a critical asset, because, and what's funny too, I got the net models released the week before the Chicago show, so I wasn't expecting to come across the Aero Classics, and I mean technically I didn't, but it just so happened that you helped out, and that's something I'm very appreciative of. And I don't know where I think the North Central plane. Yeah, it's on my shelf in the other room right now. But it holds a place close in my heart for sure. And I am very excited to add the remaining North Central planes that have been made that I've yet to get. So right now I have 6. There's 9 of them. Let's see. So there's a Convair by Aeroclassics, and then there's another DC-950 that Aeroclassics did, and I'm trying to think what's the other one that I'm missing. I think it might be another DC. Yeah, it's another DC-930. It's like one of the Republic hybrids, one of the weird hybrids they had. So that's pretty much all that's left of the current planes that exist in 400 scale for North Central, but there are still several subjects that have yet to be made. There's a variant with gold trim on it. I did mention that to Todd, by the way, at the show, and he said that he would look into it. There is a chance that maybe they will do it here in the future. And if I do, I'm going to go ballistic on that. So be prepared for a very interesting reaction if that plane does get released. Let me see. I lost my train of thought there with the North Central talk gets out of control, and then it just completely it goes off the rails rather quickly for me when I start talking about North Central, because that's how much I like it. But yeah, the North Central DC-9 from Aeroclassics holds a special place in my heart just because of how I got it, and every day I wake up very thankful for having that plane and having a friend like Connor who's willing to go out of his way to help out someone who's been looking for one of those planes. And even after, I already have one of them technically just from a different manufacturer. But I mean, at this point, I'm like, screw it. Let me get all the North Central planes. I love the airlines so much. So let's make it a goal now to get every North Central plane in 400 scale. Doesn't matter if I already have the type. Let's do it. Okay, so now we move on to something from where we did buy stuff to where we didn't buy stuff. One thing you should have bought at the show, and I know all of us in here have experienced the regret of going through everything at Airliners, and you see that one thing, you're like, oh, maybe I'll sit on it for a little bit, and then by the time you're ready to do it, it's like, darn it, somebody already got it. Somebody has already purchased it. It's long gone. You just got to move on from it. And I certainly have one that I'll talk about here in a moment. But first, I'll get to everybody else here in the room. So I'll start off with Connor. One thing that you should have bought in Kansas City.
Yeah, there was quite an array. I was trying to finish off and get all the new releases that I didn't get a chance to get. Unfortunately, the Delta 752 and SkyTeam 764 both sold out, so those were notable ones, along with other new releases that were there too from both Gemini, NG, and a couple of other companies. So busted a little bit on those, but I wanted to wait for the best discount possible, so I take the blame on those. There was a couple of 1 to 200s, but in my defense, I would have had to either ship them or carry them back, and with a CRJ 200 involved, that would have been a struggle. So there was a Delta 717 that really caught my eye among some other planes. So, there's opportunities down the road for sure, but they do come to mind because the prices were so good. Some of those, and I wish I would have made one more round on the scratch and dents. There was a couple of really cool ones, like a Air Kenya 777. There's definitely a array of international planes particularly, and I'm glad I was able to capitalize on some of those, but there's a couple there. Amuma 1 NG 1 to 200, $85. Again, another one that I sat there and looked at for an extended period of time. It's quite an array of aircraft. It's such an overwhelming environment, so it's kind of like a peer pressure decision almost, pretty much, even though it's you going against yourself, but that's really what it's like. So I hope that I'll continue to, and it feels like that the one-day shows too. It's not just the big show, but I hope I'll continue to capitalize in those environments. It's challenging for sure, especially when you already have so many models that you've bought recently. So I'll definitely have to continue to develop my skills in that department, but definitely some 1 to 200s, definitely a couple of new releases as well. But luckily I did capitalize on the planes that I knew I wasn't going to be able to get anywhere else. So that's what I'm proud of, and definitely can't regret how I handled that.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it for sure. Always, we're humans. We'll make mistakes here and there, and just gotta work on it from there. And we'll continue to assess what we have and continue growing. So moving on to Anderson. One thing you should have bought at the show.
Just one?
Yeah. I mean, if you do have a couple extra items, feel free to throw them in there too.
All right. I'm going to make a reference to Gavin first with a similar plane to his America West CRJ 900. there was one in 1 to 200 scale by NG that I really wanted. I wish I would have gotten it. The reason I didn't is because there was one with the larger titles and one with smaller titles, and in the moment I didn't know which one. I just wanted whichever one was more prevalent, I guess. And I asked a few people, and I got a lot of unsure responses. So I thought to myself I'd come back to it if I figured that out, and I just never got to. I don't think it sold, but I just never went back to it. Again, I only had like 2 hours in the ballroom, so I had to be really quick and not necessarily impulsive, but I just had to watch what I was doing and make sure I got to everywhere. So that's definitely one I wish I would have gotten to have with my other 1/200 CRD 200s. That would have been really cool. And then I mentioned in the last podcast with the guy who was selling the aircraft tails and the wood stand.
Oh, yes.
Some one that I wanted. This time I was planning on getting one, and then I saw the price. I think it was like $60. I wanted one. I just wasn't ready to spend that much for one. So we'll have to see in the future if I have another opportunity to get one, or if I'm able to get one for a lower price. But I just a little bit too much for what I wanted to spend for one. But those are my 2 things.
Yeah, no, they. I think they show up at even the one-day show.
They do.
I think, yeah. So I know Minneapolis is coming up October 12th. I'm planning to hit that one up. So maybe if I see it there, I'll send it your way if you still want it by then. I think it's willing. I do something like that since I know you really wanted the Sun Country one. I know they had a North Central one too.
Yeah, they had
I didn't get that either. So I need to. I'll capitalize on that and at some point, and we'll figure it out from there. All right, moving on over to Gavin. One thing you should have bought in Kansas City.
Really good questions tonight, JJ. Well,
that's what I do.
Yeah, right. This is a tough question. So, going off what Anderson said with those wooden plain tails, not exact. I can't remember off the top of my head if they did have, a Delta one. If they did, then I shouldn't have passed on that. I do kind of wish I would have picked one of those up, but as Anderson said, of course, $60 for one of those or around that. It's, a little bit off-putting, but definitely worth a purchase, and I'll definitely keep my eye out for those in Atlanta. Model-wise, I wish I did pick up some more GSC for my model airport. I didn't really think about that too much. I know beforehand I did, I was talking about, spending, a bit of my budget on GSC, but I just never really got to it and got a little carried away with the memorabilia side. So yeah. That's really what, I kind of, regret, not buying. And I definitely will, go off of that in Atlanta and, yeah.
It's just hard. You make a list of what you want to buy, and even still, you're not going to follow the entire list. I did that. I did that again in Kansas City. It's too hard when you find other good things that you just didn't think of. But for one thing that I should have bought, it's not not a model that would have really elevated my collection all that much, but it holds sentimental value to me. It's the Gemini Jets Finnair A340-300 in the new livery. And the reason why I picked that one is because it's not because of my my friend, the TriStar connoisseur. It is because of another YouTuber who is no longer active in the community, unfortunately. Gemini Jets 215. He used to make a bunch of really good model unboxings long time ago when I was a kid. I used to watch them all the time, and one of them that I would frequently replay would be the Finnair A340 one. And it was interesting because it comes in the smaller box compared to other A340s at the time. The Air France one that I have is in the larger box, and yet this Finnair is in the smaller box, and it barely fits in there. It's a very, very tight fit. I remember looking at that, and it's like, oh God, how do you get that to fit in there? but it was in the Sprue Brothers Scratch and Dent section. I think it was like $40 or $35 or somewhere around there. And I thought about it, and I wanted to come back to it later, but by the time I did, somebody had already snatched it. So I'm like, darn it, I should have gotten it sooner. But I'll have to hunt one down on eBay, because I do kind of want something like a Finnair in my collection, since I don't have one yet. And normally I would probably go for something that's more relevant, like an A330 or an A350, because that's what they currently operate on their flights to the U.S. at this time. But the A340 does have sentimental value because of that unboxing video. And I do hope, we run into Gemini Jets 215 one of these days. I hope he's doing well in his other endeavors, if those have been keeping him very busy, and he has, therefore, no time to do YouTube at any point in time as of right now. And I'm trying to think of other items that I may not have bought. The Hawaiian 787 I wanted to get, but I never got around to doing that. I probably should have gotten it when they were $20, but Connor obviously snatched up all the good ones. But I think at that point, to be fair, I was like, I'm done with buying stuff, so I don't want to lose all my cash that I brought with, because I still had some left after the show. But if I bought anything more, I probably wouldn't have had anything left in the budget. I did bring quite a bit, and I'm surprised I didn't go through all of it. So I brought plenty. It also helps when I sold a bunch of models too, so I got some back.
And Slimmerville.
As a result, yes, Slimmerville that's a beautiful place.
Yes.
Okay, that's all the prompts I have. So, any final thoughts on Kansas City? Anything that we may have missed that comes to your mind now that you want to bring up before we move on to a little Atlanta preview here?
Gonna have to reflect on it more, man. What an awesome time it was.
It's very hard to, it's hard to get to everything, because there's so much to absorb in the 3 days that you're all there. And especially, I talked about this a lot in the previous episode, but the friendships at these shows are important.
Oh, yes.
It brings everyone together, and especially, between the four of us, we know each other very well. So when we're all together, it's the best time of our lives. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. Kansas City was great, and I'm really glad that I still had time to come on down and, not become the next contestant on The Price is Right, but to have a phenomenal time at Airliners International in Kansas City. This convention, best thing to happen in my life so far. And I'm excited to become a part of it in the future, to help out with the show in any way that I can. And I know Connor has expressed that as well, to help out. But yeah, the friendships, as I said, they're very important. The four of us, we know each other so well, and especially between Connor, Anderson, myself, we'd love to meet up again at some point. And this convention, especially with Connor and I, our Minneapolis excursion that we did right after the show, it has inspired me to start looking into opportunities to meet up with Connor and Anderson again, and Gavin as well. I think we're probably going to do something. I'd love to do something with MSP show in October. I think we got a good opportunity for that. And then perhaps any other times that come up where we're all free, I think we got to take it at some point. Yeah. So we need to start assessing that once we get time here. But we'll look into that starting after we record this episode, since we still got a few more things to hit up before we conclude this episode of the Fan Podcast. So now we move on to the Atlanta preview. And obviously we all know what Airliners International 2025 is all about. June 25th through 28th at the Delta Flight Museum, just north of the Atlanta Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. And the Delta Flight Museum is incredible. I think all three of you have been there at least once. I'm not too sure about Gavin, though, but Connor for sure has been there a few times.
Not been there, unfortunately.
Okay, so just Connor and Anderson. So you've been there at least once before. Connor, you've been there, I'm trying to think again. It's either 2 or 3 times. 3 times now, so this will be the 4th, barring you go there beforehand, whether it's for the Atlanta one-day show.
We'll see.
That's definitely...
I have to go scope out the area. It depends on what's going on. We'll see.
Yeah, I wish I could hop on that, just so I could at least see what it's like without the ballroom stuff in place, because I feel like that's kind of the more authentic experience.
That's the hint.
Yeah, that would be. Yep. I'll have to. Maybe I do go to that Atlanta show, but that's like right before the MSP show, so that's not going to work with me, unfortunately. But yeah, the Delta Flight Museum, it's an incredible place. It's been on my bucket list for years to hit up, so I'm really glad that Airliners International was able to return to Atlanta. And I still remember hearing back at the Dallas show that Atlanta was supposed to be 2024's location, but they had some logistical complications come up, and then Kansas City was the final selection as a result of that. But I knew for sure they weren't going to let Atlanta go that easily. And, right from the get go, I thought 2025, it's going to be Atlanta. It's going to be Atlanta. It's going to be Atlanta. I kept repeating that for months until they finally made the official announcement, which was when I was on my way to Kansas City. They finally made a logo and everything and said that it's going to be Atlanta. So, again, June 25th through 28th at the Delta Flight Museum. They should have a special hotel room rate at the Renaissance Concourse Hotel just west of the museum. And I think they're also planning to get some rooms at a Hilton that's also nearby. But nothing has been confirmed as we are recording this podcast. That could change by the time this comes out. But we are still checking on that and trying to get the latest information. So Connor and I, when they do announce the room rates and everything for the Renaissance, that will be when our first of several AI 2025 preparation videos will come out. So we are very excited about that and everything that's going to be happening in Atlanta. And I'll be excited to get on down there since, as I've said, the Delta Flight Museum has been on my bucket list ever since I started doing, this whole retro aviation stuff. And even before that, it's a dream place. The Delta 762, the Spirit of Delta, right in the middle of the freaking ballroom. Oh my God. I've said this too. I want to buy Spirit of Delta while standing underneath her. So hopefully that does happen, but I'll talk more about what we're all excited about here pretty soon. And another important information, that's pretty much all we have at this time, since the convention's still like 11 months out, which is crazy to think. A whole month has already passed since Kansas City, so that means we're 11 months away from Atlanta. So the time's going to fly by quick, so be ready. Be ready for registration to open up, which has yet to open as we record this, but that should open sometime in the fall. Tour information will be out sometime in spring 2025, along with the seminar information. And that's basically all the updates that they have on the World Airline Historical Society website, or the Airliners International website, excuse me. But they do have a nice gallery page as well from Kansas City, which looks great. Plenty of videos and photos on there, so great to know that they are promoting the content that has been made from all of us. My videos are on there, Connor's videos are on there, and a few others. So great to know that they are recognizing the promotion that the convention is getting online from all of us here, since we are very passionate about the show and we want to help out in any way we can. So that's a quick rundown on what 2025 show is going to be like. Again, very excited about that. And then the next part that I have here is, any preliminary plans, what else you want to do in Atlanta outside of the Delta Flight Museum and anything else that they may have to offer at the ATL airport. Or I'll go ahead and start with Connor on this prompt.
Yeah, definitely get a formal spotting meetup going this year. Learned from last year, so excited to get that going along with all of whatever everybody else wants to do. We still have substantial time to think about it, so excited to get plans in place, figure out what we're doing, have a great time. It's a really awesome airport, going to be tough to get away from there, so I'm sure that we're going to be loaded for 4 or 5 days for sure.
I'm excited for that spotty meetup, especially.
Oh,
That's going to be a hit.
Matt Cochran's getting a formal invite.
Yes. And we are excited to have him. Hopefully he is free at some point during the convention, because we would love to meet him, because he is the most entertaining plane spotter on YouTube. I'm just going to say it right now. He is the most entertaining by a mile. So go check out some of his videos if you haven't, because they are great. Great entertainment for hours on end. Now over to Mr. Anderson. Any preliminary plans for Airliners in Atlanta?
Nothing crazy coming to mind aside from just the plane spotting, which is going to be a really fun event, and then really just to be there for the whole time this time around.
Finally. Love it.
Something I've been looking forward to. That should be a blast, just experiencing the whole thing. I know I've missed a lot of funny references and stuff like that because I've had to leave early, so I'm excited to be there for the full time, and it's going to be great.
Yep, and perhaps maybe we can even do something beforehand just to extend the amount of time that we're together.
Yeah,
I think that's
it'd be
also
nice.
something to consider as well. I'll talk about, maybe some of my preliminary plans here in a moment.
Absolutely.
And then over to Mr. Gavin here. Any preliminary plans in Atlanta for next year's show?
Well, I would like to stay for the Saturday night banquet. That would be pretty nice. I have not done that yet at either of the shows that I have attended, so that'll be cool.
Yes, and you got to hit up the banquet. It's really good.
Yes. So I hope to be doing that, and just plane spotting will be fun. Unfortunately, I missed out on this year's meetup because I arrived Thursday and the meetup was Wednesday evening. And then just having as much fun as I can, really. I mean, I think that goes for all of us. So
that's absolutely true. All of us here having fun. Just making new memories in Atlanta again, because before we know, we're all going to be back together there. I have a feeling this next year is going to go quick because we'll have the NFL season starting. We're going to go into winter and then move into stuff like February, the Daytona 500 coming up again, and then spring, school letting out, college letting out, and then we're back together in Atlanta. The time is going to go quick again, and especially with how much fun we've had over the last 12 months between Dallas and Kansas City. The time went by quickly, and I've got a feeling it's going to be like that again for between Kansas City and Atlanta. Preliminary plans for myself. Definitely want to do like maybe ATL airport tours if they have stuff at Delta Tech Ops or a ramp tour. I've got a feeling they're going to try and get tours at both of those places at Tech Ops and, of course, the airport itself. This is kind of a random idea that popped into my mind, but get tickets to a NASCAR race or something because they have the Atlanta Motor Speedway just down the road from ATL. But I think the race weekend, it doesn't line up with the time that we're there. They haven't announced the next year's schedule, but I think I've heard like July 26th or something is supposed to be when they're back there. So that unfortunately isn't going to line up, but maybe one day it will at one of these cities we go to. But that's just my inner NASCAR fan talking. I don't think there'd be much interest from the wider group of the attendees of this show anyway. So, but explore new ideas. We've done baseball games before, so I guess it's not entirely out of the question just yet. And then anything else, I'd like to do something prior to Atlanta because I know dang well trying to get to Atlanta is going to be the logistical hurdle I'm going to have to clear because Sioux Falls to Atlanta is not cheap since Delta is the only airline that flies it right now. That should change in the future. I say should because that's what I want. We need Southwest to start flying here, and that would lower the prices out of FSD rather quickly. Because I think Connor, when we checked, I think it was like $200 or $300 somewhere around there round trip.
The lowest I've seen it round trip on basic economy was $507.
Oh God, 500.
That's basic economy.
No,
so
I'm not gonna do. If I can help it, I'm not flying direct to Atlanta. I will. If I have to spend that much, I might as well go through a couple airports on my way. Whether I go through Denver or Chicago or Tulsa, anywhere along the way, or maybe go out of my way to Syracuse, fly over there, or Rochester, upstate New York. Go out of my way, go meet up with someone.
Do a upstate New York tour.
He's gonna do a special.
I mean, I might as well, because I have a feeling the flights are not going to be cheap. So if I'm going to have to do that, I would rather do something fun if I have to spend that much. Get the most bang out of my buck is what I'm trying to get at. I think that's what I have to do to save myself and not make it feel like I'm just wasting money on flying because again, Delta's not cheap and they will likely never be cheap because they're not an LCC or ULCC. It's not going to work like that. Unless Southwest starts flying here, who knows? But if Southwest does start flying here, then maybe I'll reconsider. But for now, it's going to be about getting the most bang out of my buck, trying to get there and having fun. And now, any final thoughts from the crew here about what we're excited about at Atlanta for the next show and anything else about Airliners in Atlanta? I'll go ahead and start with Connor.
Yeah, it's going to be the biggest show yet, and I'm just saying that right now. So if you are on the fence or you trying to make an exceptional effort at some point, this would be the time. I've heard some big names that are 100% committing to going, like Gemini Jets 13, among others. So this is going to be the time if you want to see people. So if you're on the fence, this is the time to make that extra effort, and I think it will change your life. So plenty going on. It's going to be the biggest show yet, like I said. Tours-wise, plane spotting, we're going to get distracted. We're going to have fun. It is a heck of a setup, and definitely one of the most genuine places I've had significant fun at, plane spotting-wise. Everywhere is fun, but it's a whole different element at Atlanta, I can say that. So it's going to be tough to beat.
Absolutely. That best way to put it. All the, people that we grew up with watching Gemini Jets airport updates on YouTube, and now there's a chance we get to meet them for the first time in about a year, which is crazy for me to think about. I still remember, Gemini Jets, now CLT Aviation 13. I still remember watching the one airport update he had many, many times as a kid. I wanted to have my own airport like that, and now I do. I got a couple different ones, but it's very similar to that. And I think other names, I know 757 US Airways, I think he got brought up too at one point. I think he's interested in going. That would be cool to meet him as well. I know both of them are UND alums, and they have their respective careers within the aviation industry. So it'd be great to meet up with them. I'm very excited if they do show up. I know CLT especially committed to going to Atlanta and hopefully getting back on the YouTube grind as well, since I know we dearly miss his videos. So we'd like to see him come back. I'll hand the torch off to Anderson now. Any final thoughts on Airliners in Atlanta?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing as what I said with the last question. I'm just excited to be there for the full time. And then obviously, as Connor said, it's going to be the biggest show. Absolutely huge. Delta Flight Museum being right there is going to be awesome. Seeing all the people, as you said. And yeah, being there for the full time to experience all of it's going to be one heck of a time.
Yes. Good way to put it. And then now for Mr. Gavin, any final thoughts?
Going off what Connor and Anderson have both said, seeing the people that we grew up watching, CLT Aviation 13, 757 US Airways, maybe we could get Gemini Jets 333 in the mix.
We need to inform some of these guys, so I'm going to make some rounds here pretty soon on that. Jeb Brooks.
Jeb Brooks, that's the big one. Yes, I think I know he's been contacted about airliners before, especially with Dallas, and then I don't know if he got contacted prior to Kansas City.
He was notified for sure, but he will be notified once we have some hotel links for Atlanta as well.
Yep, we hope to meet him one day. I know Jeb Brooks, a well-respected member in the aviation community with his trip reports and other fun aviation and travel-related content on YouTube. He's a person that I've looked up to in terms of wanting to get out there, explore the world, and see what it has to offer, because there's tons of unique things out there. Because now it's more than just airplanes. It's trains, it's boats, it's just any method of transportation he is now covered on the channel, which is incredible. So I'm really proud of how far that channel has come, and I hope we all get to meet him at some point, sit down with him for a chat, and have some fun, because that is what we want to do around here.
Oh, yes.
And then final thoughts for myself, obviously super excited about Atlanta. And again, I continue to hope my schedule's free, which if it's not, I'm going to make it free, because I'm not going to miss out on this show. I will basically force myself to go to this show, even if my calendar is full. I will clear out the schedule for that entire week if I have to, especially if I want to do something cool prior to the show. So, going back to my getting the most bang out of my buck, if I have to fly, well, I will have to fly, but where will I have to fly? If I have to fly through somewhere, because if the FSD at Atlanta is still expensive, I'm flying somewhere else. I'm not going to do that. So I think, just the travel aspect going to Atlanta, and then perhaps if we meet up before or after the show, I'm excited about that too. And then, of course, the entire convention and what it's going to have to offer, being inside the Delta Flight Museum, buying models, memorabilia, and so much more. And the tours, what they will have to offer, and the spotty meetup as well is going to be phenomenal if that all goes to plan, which I'm hoping it does. We got 11 months to get that all put together, and definitely looking to help out with that if I can. Excited for what's to come for this next Airliners International show. It's going to be great. I'm glad to continue being a part of it and the next chapter that will be written for this convention. And that is everything for this second episode of the Airliners International Fan Podcast. I'll always want to mention this too. This is not affiliated with the World Airline Historical Society. This is a fan-made podcast by people who are very passionate about the Airliners International Convention, and we like to sit down and talk about it as good friends, and we want to share with people who are also perhaps interested in hearing more about the show and what it has to offer. And we look forward to expanding on the horizons of the show as we move forward into the future, perhaps bringing on other special guests as best we can, and continuing to talk to other aviation enthusiasts about Airliners International, what they thought of it, and any other memories that we made together along the way. So with that being said, I thank you so much for tuning in to this episode, another lengthy one for sure, but packed with tons of good information and memories and references. And we'll catch you in the next episode in August or so. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you then.